Okay, for today's problem, this problem you might notice is different than some of the other problems that we've been solving. When we look at a word problem like this, we need to think about what do we know in this problem? So if we read through the problem, Helena is 5 feet tall. That is something we know. The next sentence says, a tree in her yard is 35 feet tall. So that's the second thing that we know. The tree is how many times as tall as Helena? That is not something we know, that's the question. So I underlined it to make sure that you could see that's what we're looking for in this. Write an equation. Be ready to explain how your equation represents your answer. So the things that we know is that Helena is 5 feet tall and the tree in her yard is 35 feet tall. We know we're trying to find out how many times as tall is the tree than Helena. What if the problem said Helena is 5 feet tall? A tree in her yard is 35 times as tall as Helena. So imagine Helena and 35 of her just lined up, one on top of the other. How would that be different than the question that's being asked? Well, it doesn't really sound reasonable, right? Let's say we are going to write an equation for the problem about Helena and the tree, leaving a question mark for the answer. You've said we know Helena's height and we know the tree's height. That's what we decided was the things that we know, were the things that we knew. And we want to find out how many times taller the tree is. What equation could we write? So right here in this box is where we can write the equation. Now we already have been working on equations, numbers with an operation and an answer to them, or sometimes they just don't have the answer yet. So my equation could possibly be 35 divided by 5. And then we'll have to think about what that equals. That could be one equation. I know 35 is divided by 5. I know 35 divided by 5 is 7. And you know that if you know your math facts, because 7 times 5 is 35. So the tree is 7 times as tall as Helena. Okay, so there's one equation that you could do. Another equation that you could do is what, so I'm going to use a question mark, what times 5 equals 35? That's another equation we could do. So when we're thinking about our math facts, we know 7 times 5 is 35. So I could go back here and replace the question mark with a 7. 7 times 35 times 5 is 35. Okay, so now on your own, you're going to write one of the two equations that we just did that makes sense to you, either the division or the multiplication equation. And then in the same box, type how your equation represents your answer. In other words, what do the numbers stand for? What does the 7 stand for? What does the 5 stand for? What does the 35 stand for? So explain what those mean in the box as well. All right, guys, you've got this.